Good evening, one and all. Welcome along. It is season 5, episode 29 of the UK Dallas Cowboys podcast. Joined this evening by Paul and Craig. How are you both doing, gentlemen?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, really well, thanks.
Okay, we got over Christmas anyway, which is always good.
Yeah, that's it done for now. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's in that weird time, isn't it? It's in that weird time between Christmas and New Year where it's like, what day is it? Am I allowed to still drink before noon? I mean, are there any rules left? It's simple as that.
I wish I could say that I'm back at work. So,
yeah, it's not good. As I said to you guys earlier, I totally forgot that it was Wednesday, and that we hadn't done the show last night. But as I say, we're entitled to a Christmas as much as everybody. So, everyone was visiting family and friends. So, look, we're a day late, but it's better late than never.
Yeah, definitely.
And unfortunately, look, again, it's a poor result. It's a 22-20 loss to the Miami Dolphins. We've slipped now to second in the NFC East. We've no control over our destiny now. And Paul, I know you said you thought there was a chance New York would split the series with that team up north. Not looking likely now.
Still 2 games left. If there's any chance of optimism, there's still 2 games left. If we win our 2 games and they lose the next 2, then yeah, that's the only solution to it.
Yeah.
But it is unlikely.
Sorry, Craig. What were your own initial first thoughts on Sunday evening?
The narrative all along has been Dallas can't win on the road. Okay, fine. And yes, it was a loss. That's fine. And there are some key points. I know we'll dig into it as this episode goes on. But we faced the number 2 seed with the number 1 scoring offense, and we held them to 1 touchdown. And they weren't often looking like they were. It's not like us who had the goal line issues. They weren't often pressing for a touchdown. There were some good points. There were some bad points. It wasn't our best performance or by far our worst performance. Sometimes when you play the better teams, it's more likely to go their way. There are things we can do to make it move our way, but it's not the sky is falling. I think if and again, we'll probably touch on it. I think this week is more of a decider on who actually we are.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Paul, what about yourself? What were your opinions and thoughts initially on Sunday night?
Defensively, I can't really criticize them way too much. Like, we were much better in the run defense. Don't get me wrong, our run defense is still a little bit short, especially on the outside. For interiors, we're absolutely fine. We shut down between 2 and 4 yards per carry on the inside. If anything, if I'm going to be critical about something, it is obviously some of the decision making in terms of offense. We are noticing a significant drop in production whenever CD Lamb is not on the field. That is a massive difference. Yeah. Whether he should be on the field at all times, and other players will step up to the occasion. It's just whenever he seems to be not on the field, it seems to be there's a big void in presence. So that is a concern. If CD Lamb's out, God forbid, what option is it? We didn't, and I'm glad that we did try to utilize Hunter Luke. I'm really glad. I thought the first initial drives and that, obviously the fumble was very unfortunate. But we hardly utilized Jake Ferguson in that whole game, who seems to be like a really good security blanket for Dak. Yeah. So I do have to question in the play calling from Mike McCarthy on that. But like Craig just mentioned, it was 22-20. Like, on average, like, of all the games that have been we've won, we've kept defenses to an average of 20 points, etc. So to do that against one of the top teams in the NFL, one of the highest scoring offenses in the NFL, to only 22 points, and the majority of those points were field goals, Defensively, I think we could not ask for anything better, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like it could have been one of those games where we could have gotten beat 40 plus points or whatever not, but no, it never happened. So I think after reflection and after celebrating Christmas and whatever that, it took a little bit of reflection, because when I was talking to RJ and Mike last night on the round table and that, it kind of made me realize it's like, you know what? Actually, you know what? All things just, it is a loss, and it does suck. But when you really put it in perspective, the Dolphins are on a roller coaster, high flying right now of what they're doing right now.
Yeah,
and yet we managed to keep them down to only 22 points. It's like, so where's the actual problem here? We're supposed to be one of the biggest offenses in that. We didn't put enough points on the board. So if anything, all the problems relies on our offense. So that's where it really does come down to.
Yeah. Like one of my initial feelings, and look, I still have this feeling coming out of the game, and Lebarski kind of mentions it here in this comment. We couldn't stop the run when it mattered. I was a little bit angry, and Paul, I know you're going to be upset when I say this. I had a little bit of anger with the defense, and especially Micah Parsons, in that, it's now 38 quarters and I haven't had a holding call against me, and feel sorry for me. But my thoughts are, and like this happens across the league. It happens to Nick Bosa. It happens to TJ Watt. It happens to Myles Garrett. All of the best pass rushers, all of the best defensive players in the game. You've got to get over it. You've got to stop making excuses and just do the job. Or am I being too harsh in saying that?
Sorry, Craig. In that context, that definitely. If it was Micah Parsons saying to pointing out to the NFL officials to say, "Listen, do your job better," and then that's a fair argument. Because let's be honest, the NFL officiating has been terrible.
Yeah,
but I totally agree what you're saying. Like, for Parsons to come out and say that type of stuff, nah. Like, just get on and just like keep your head focused and get on with the job. Like, the more you're gonna like start complaining and stuff like that, you're more gonna get more animated. And we saw that during the game where Parsons was getting animated, and DeMarcus Lawrence, of all people, was the one who had to try and calm him down. So you've got two absolute what's the word? I'm trying to find the right word, but it's just basically they can just flip a switch just like that in terms of personality on the football field. Pretty much, you've got DeMarcus Lawrence telling Parsons to calm down, which I think is absolutely hilarious. So, but it's a weird one. Like, if I was Micah Parsons, just get that out of your head, get the lame excuses out, because the more you're going to dwell on that, the more you're going to like less perform. No, because that's all you're going to be thinking about. You're not going to think about, okay, so you're going to hold me. Okay, I'm just going to ram it down your throat. That's the mentality should be taken. It's like if you're going to hold me, then I'm going to make you pay for it. That should be the mentality.
Yeah. And I agree with everything on there. You just saw how fired up he was on the field that he's not, and the fact that he hasn't had a holding penalty since the Chargers game.
31 quarters. Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy, but he needs to realize that there are better people to carry that message. There are better people to say that the Cowboys, like so many other teams, are suffering from really bad calls.
Let the coaches do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's their job.
And I know Dan Quinn, has great scheme, but he's quite quiet on the outspoken front. You almost want him to be saying that and being a bit more outspoken on that. But personally, I think the run stopping in the last drive, we could all see it coming. Not helped by the penalty, but really for me, it was the fact that yes, we didn't give up. We only gave up one touchdown. Brilliant. Against Tyreek and Waddle. Excellent. And Mostert for some of the game he was in. But the fact that we were just so far off our coverage to keep it in front of us meant pretty much they were guaranteed to be able to get the first down. And I think that probably killed us more than not being able to stop the run.
It felt like we were too apprehensive in covering Tyreek Hill in that game, if that makes sense. It's like we know the ball's going to him, but we just don't know how much yards we want to give space towards him. That seemed to be the biggest question mark. And that last drive, that was probably the worst part in terms of our run defense. It just felt like by that time, it's like they just knew it was coming. They just gave up. And that's an off thing as well. Like there was just the lack of what's the word? I'm pure sorry, I'm struggling to find my words here today, but it just felt like it felt easy just to give up because there was just like, oh, you have to get the first down, that's that game over. It's like fight for every bloody inch of the game. It's not over till it's actually over. So if you've got a chance to win the game and hold them back, then do it. So and what we were 20-19 at the time, and it was like not like it just felt like it was just like it just suck out the whole soul out the whole team, and it just like it didn't matter no more. So that's a bit of a concern. So
one word there. You know, the mentality was that there was still time on the clock. They were going to have the ball. They were going to move into field goal. It's just a case of whether they make the field goal. No, actually, we're still an active participant there. You're right. We weren't aggressive enough. We weren't fighting to stay in, and that's for all the talk of after the game. You know, Mike McCarthy. You know, we need to be road warriors. We're missing the warriors part. We're missing the we can make our own destiny in the first half. In the second half, it just felt like we were hanging in there.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose this kind of feeds into Lebarski's point here, where he says, I was surprised when I saw Tyreek's numbers later because it felt like he had 30 catches for 300 yards. And it just felt like every time, and Craig, you've alluded to this, was when they needed a first down, they threw the ball to Tyreek Hill, and he seemed to get 2 or 3 yards beyond the first down marker. Now, I don't think he even had 100 yards in the game. I'll check it. But, you know, it's just that thing of dialing up a play and going, right, we know the ball's going to Tyreek Hill. We have to stop Tyreek Hill. Someone jam him on the line. And it just doesn't seem to be part of maybe the Dan Quinn schemes. Craig, as you kind of said, they like to give that cushion, you know, to the opposition. And it got us killed every time. It got us killed last week in Buffalo. It got us killed when we went to San Francisco. You know, and that's the concern with the defense I have at the minute.
Yeah, when you look at it based on the scoreline, like the stats for Tyreek Hill would actually match up perfectly, like 99 yards. He wasn't what it wasn't him that scored it. It was Waddle that scored the touchdown, wasn't it?
Waddle,
yeah.
So for 99 yards and whatever your reception count is, so you're talking about what 14 points, 15 points in fantasy football, wherever you want to score it. Like so, and for based on what the whole percentage of the points were and how Tua did and stuff like that makes like Tyreek still had a good game, but it just seemed a lot more because of the impact that he brought into every single play that he delivered. So, but yeah.
Just pulling up Joe's comment. What's up, Cowboys? Didn't know you guys went live on Wednesday. Joe, this is actually Tuesday's show. We were all doing stuff with our families yesterday and, you know, enjoying Christmas. So even though it was a loss on Sunday, we still need to, you know, have a discussion about it. But guys, like I was covering the game on Sunday night, and a lot of the initial comments after the game was Dak didn't do enough, Dak didn't do this, Dak didn't do that. And I teed off on a few people on this, because if there's one person you cannot blame for this game, it's Dak Prescott.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's one, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to blame someone in this game, and it probably might no come as a surprise. In fact, 2 people actually. One is Mike McCarthy. 2 is Chuma Edoga.
Yeah.
By God, like it felt like he was actually playing guard instead of tackle. Like,
I know.
Like I'm sorry, but Bradley Chubb is sitting on the edge. You know, he's your outside guy. You're supposed to help seal the containment of the edge, regardless if you're tackle or whatever. Like, and even like so, I think it may have been Ferguson that may kind of missed it, like just
a chip.
a chip block, yeah. So it just felt like, how can you leave a guy of Bradley Chubb's caliber unattended? Because that's what really killed us. And Tim just made the comment. The left tackle just killed us. Absolutely, Chuma Aduga was god awful, and I try and be as nice as I can when it comes to, like, because I don't want to kind of sound like I'm really bashing someone, but it really did. When I was watching some of the game film from the north-south Canberra position, he was playing like he was playing guard position. Why are you double teaming with your actual left guard Tyler Smith, who had full control of the interior tackle on Christian Watkins? I'm sorry, I just don't understand that. It's like your job is like, place the hand out, then go back to Bradley Chubb to the outside. Make sure that the outside is never left attended. That is the main role of being the left tackle. Is like, make sure nothing comes around the outside. It's baffling, and it was throughout the whole game.
Absolutely, and if you look at the stats lines between Dak and Tua's getting lots of praise, which I think might be a little overblown, but very similar stat lines between the two QBs. It was that factor, the factor that Cowboys got home to 1 sack, I think, and there were several, and they were mostly coming down that edge. And the fact, time after time, you're just seeing Chuma not do his basic job, not even put in a disruption there. He wasn't breaking through the protection. There was none.
Like, I'm sure if you were to flip the roles reversed, put Tyler Smith at left tackle, put Chuma in left guard, I think we'd be seeing a different completely story, because at least Chuma Aduga was actually playing like a guard, but with Tyler Smith, he can play the left tackle. But it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. So our offensive line coach needs to really kind of make a more in-depth decision in terms of our depth, in terms of that. Like, and this is a coach who's had all the years of experience. He should know better.
Yeah, like Paul, I wanted to kind of ask you this question, kind of as you've played both sides on the offensive and defensive line. I mean, Chuma Aduga kept seeming to be looking into the left guard spot
all the time.
Tyler Smith doesn't need anyone looking after him. He's a big grown-ass man, and Aduga, by looking inside, was distracting himself from seeing what's going on his side, where he's supposed to defend. It's something Tyron Smith would never do.
The only time you should only, like, in a way of double team is basically hand placement block, just so therefore your guard can actually get more face to face. Like, so if I'm just trying to think in terms of positions here. If I'm a free tech lined up against the left guard, in between that and the left tackle, I expect the left tackle just to kick up a couple of steps, just to do a chip block on me, then refocus back onto the edge, not get a full complete like double team block and drive me to whatever, like drive me back inside. That's not the case. Like, if I'm playing the left tackle position, like, I was like, if he's like, if the guard was lined up heads up with the interior tackle, then that's all on him. If the tackle's left like more inside between him and the center, then that's between him and the center. But that's definitely more of an actual double team block. But it's all. But the major component difference is the left tackle should always be more of a, like, just hand placement. Make sure it just gives them that wee split second, just to like just a wee hand placement push. So therefore your guard can get readjusted and back in position again, and therefore you can start kick stepping and actually force whatever the edge rusher, either if he's going to go bull rush it or whatever on that, like just to give him that, like, even just like stop that bull rush or the edge rusher for that 1 second is going to make a hell of a difference. But you don't leave him unattended. That's the problem.
And it felt like he was just missing from the line. You almost feel that if we put...
It did feel like we were playing with 4 offensive linemen.
Yeah, exactly. And you cannot do that, especially on that position. You just cannot. And Dak is good under pressure, but Dak shouldn't be continually under pressure. And that half second is, again, one of those minor, against a quality team on the road in the winter, admittedly Florida winter, it's one of those minor things that mean win or loss.
I've got a funny I've just got a funny image. Remember the scene from The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler where the offensive line decides not to block anymore? That's what it kind of felt like. It's just on the left tackle position.
Yeah.
Like it generally felt like that. So like I just hope with the news of let's go now back into the fold, that's just great news. So whether he'll get immediate reps playing at the left tackle position, whether Tyron Smith is going to be healthy, we don't know. But we just need to kind of wait and see. But either way, it was just not pretty. Overall, like in terms of the other offensive linemen, I thought Biadish had a really great game. Like I thought he actually played very, very well. Thought Zach Martin, as usual, had a good game. Terrence Steele seemed to be improving. Like there was still moments where he did kind of get a wee bit caught off guard a little bit, but other than that, I thought overall it was not too bad. But Tyler Smith, because of, I don't know if he was struggling because of the penalties and whether or not, there is still that problem with him, as he seems to be holding on a little bit more. So I think that's maybe why Adora was going in to kind of assist him a bit more. And I know I'm sounding as though I'm I'm kind of going back my original statement. But I can, because when you really do think about it, the offensive line is a chain reaction. It all links up together. So if one link's kind of loosened off a little bit, then you're going to have a compromise from one side to kind of help elevate the pressure. But without doing that, you're going to leave a much more bigger problem at one other end of the spectrum here. So, it's one of those ones where I think with the whole holding calls, I think there's just with Tyler Smith, Junior Adora had to kind of help out, and it just kind of made the whole situation worse. So just from the left side of the ball, I think missing Tyron Smith there is massive. And despite obviously he's very limited, I'm just glad that the fact that we've actually managed to get him for more than 13 games this year. So I'm just, even that's just a victory on itself to get Tyron, but by God, that we need him more than ever now, especially if we're going into these playoffs.
O-line depth, we've been saying it since the draft, really.
2 years, pretty much.
Yeah, and it comes back to bite us, and it can come back to bite us in January as well. And then we're looking at the playoffs from the wrong position.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the other concerns for me, gents, and look, I know we kind of mentioned this about 2 weeks ago, Paul. You were kind of saying, I'm not even going to ask what you're drinking. But we
don't want to know.
You were saying, Tony Pollard is on pace for 1,000 yards, and I checked the projections, and he still is. But I mean, again, it's he had 38 yards rushing this weekend, and on the key play of this game for me, which was the Lupke fumble, you're paying Tony Pollard $11 million. He should be the guy who you're using in that position. McCarthy tends to get too cute in the red zone for his own good. You're paying a guy $11 million to pound the ball in for you. Didn't use him. Yeah.
I disagree. I actually think the Lupke move was actually the right move. Or if it should have been someone, it should have been Rico Dowdle. Despite the whole money thing or whatever, if you're paying your running back that amount of money, Tony Pollard is not designed for the inside run like that. He's not going to build those people down, as clearly shown in the play where he got stopped at the 1 yard line, where he couldn't get his whole body across the line. That just comes to show the physicality of Tony Pollard. This is the thing that we were talking last night on Blogging the Boys, is we're starting to see the trend where Tony Pollard is definitely a design-specific type of running back. He's designed for outside runs, screen passes, and pretty much it. He's not going to be your bell cow. He's not going to be the one that's going to ram it down linebackers' throats down in the gaps. You do have Dowdle for that. Yeah, he's not like your Zeke Elliott or your Derrick Henrys out there or anything like that.
Yeah.
But this is where we do have Hunter Lupke, because at the time, it makes sense. We're literally like inches from the goal line. It's it's the safest bet. Go with a full back package and just ram it down their throats. Like, make sure the offensive line stick to the gaps and just barge right in and just gain those extra inches, and that's a touchdown. Whereas if you were to use Tony Pollard, then there is the chance that he just might bounce off and bounce back. And that seems to be the problem.
It reminds me of the stat they showed in the during that first drive that said, of course they're going for it on fourth, because Cowboys are 6-1 when they score a touchdown on the first drive this season. So it makes sense. But again, like the previous comment, it's something that's been said since the summer. We need a bell cow. We need a brute. We need a Dowdle's getting there. He's not there yet. The fullback, I always struggle with his name. His could be, but why didn't we get someone like Dalvin Cook? Isn't it? Who went to the Jets and just hasn't been used all year. And
that's a fair point.
I wanted released at the trade deadline. Wanted out. Why don't we have someone like that who can be a relief for Pollard, who can be a brute, who can be a factor in the red zone?
This is going to sound daft, but seeing now, and you're going to think I'm crazy about this, but I think letting Ronald Jones for that particular reason is probably now kind of coming back to haunt us. Like, I know he's a fringe, he's going to be a fringe player, but this was what Ronald Jones was designed for, is those particular short yard gains. That's where he made his living from Kansas City, for Tampa Bay. That's what he did, and he did it very, very well. I mean, he won a bloody Super Bowl, helping Patrick Mahomes keep the drive alive for all those short yardage. Like, he would and it's all running back by committee. As of right now, it seems to be it's the Tony Pollard show until he gets tired. Then it's whatever. We'll just play it based on proper set. Like, I know that sounds a bit actually extreme take on it. Actually, that's a bit unfair, but no, it seems like we're using Tony Pollard mostly because we're trying to get our money's worth out of it, or basically find every reason why to re-sign him back. And personally, for me, I would not re-sign Tony Pollard back. I think next year would be look towards getting other running backs for next year. I know we're saying we're still got the season ahead, and I'm one of those people who don't like to think about next year already, because we're still actively in this season, but you can't help but think going forward and think about cap and whatever and that. I don't think Tony Pollard will be here next year.
Yeah. Like, we kind of mentioned this on this show last week, and I think it was Elizabeth said it to me, he'll be back. And for me, I've said this all along, we can't afford to bring Tony Pollard back. We don't have the money right now to bring him back. And this is a team that needs to realize he's a scat back. He's not going to be a bell cow. And if you want a bell cow, you need to move on. Joe is saying here, Derrick Henry would be a perfect fit for us. I tend to agree, and Derrick Henry is going to be a free agent this summer pretty much.
But
I would kick the tires. Yeah,
that's it. That was probably what stopped it being a realistic option mid-season for Henry. It would be ideal if I, again, don't look into the college season till the draft time. But if there is, I've seen a few mock drafts that say there are some brutes out there you could pick up in second and third that can be that. And whether it backs up Pollard, whether it's a mix of them and Dowdle, you know, who knows what's going to happen. But I agree. I don't think Pollard is the answer.
Yeah, I think there's still to be a good talent pool of running backs this year into the draft and stuff like that. Like, if we could get even A-Chain for like the Dolphins and stuff like that, if you can find like wee gems like that, like it can deliver like versatility, it can be a bell cow, can be elusive, whatever that, then great. But and Tim just made a really good point. Pollard does work best in the combo backfield, and that is what I was kind of meaning. It's like he's not designed to be an inside run guy. Like, he works best in the combo package where you can screen it to him, you can hand off to the outside and stuff like that. So it's just, again, just when we thought things were moving great for our offense, like it still seems to be there's like we're still trying to figure out what best suits our players in terms of plays. Like wide receivers, fine. CeeDee Lamb, we know what we're doing. We're starting to see some good parts with other wide receivers, but the problem is we seem to be very lost in terms of our wide receivers when CeeDee Lamb's not actually physically on the field. It seems like all the other receivers is like, oh crap, all the attention's on me now. It's like I don't have CD to draw the attention now. What am I supposed to do? That's what it seems to be like, because the drop in like percentage completions and like yards per gain and stuff like that, it drops down substantially, and it's really, really bad. Like a ton about at least a good, I think it was like 100 yards or something, a difference or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw, I've seen some of the commentary this week with the Ravens 49ers game and so on, and talking about going into San Francisco and bullying the bully. It's kind of that's the last missing piece. I mean, there's the questions there around the offensive line and so on. That's fine, but it's the mentality of we can go in, not just score points, but we can make you play our game. And whether that's running or passing, we can make you play our game. We are missing that mentality of the second half is the time to make them play our game. And that's like you said, it just felt that once they got the ball in the fourth quarter, the game was beyond us.
You don't have to be too nice about it, Craig. You can just say we should be going into these plays and making them our bitch. That's what we want to be saying. But that's what we feel. That's what we failed to do. It's like it felt like we were giving the bitch too much respect.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say Dolphins, again, going back to it was a close game, I wouldn't say Dolphins did it to us. I don't think many teams, even in our losses, many teams have done it to us, but we haven't done it to anyone. We've put up stats, but we haven't dominated. And I think with this time of year, and especially heading towards the playoffs, you need to kind of dominate. You need to make someone your bitch. Otherwise, other teams aren't going to sit up and take notice.
Yeah. Tim is just kind of saying Dallas can beat San Francisco, but only with physicality like the Ravens did, which we seem to lack. I couldn't agree with that statement anymore. That's true.
I think we're going to have to kind of put on our realistic hats and expect to, and I know I sound an absolute party pooper. Yeah, we're going to be in the playoffs, but we're going to have the expectation we are likely going to get knocked out because we're not being physical enough. We're not putting enough points on the board. There's miscommunication. Like we're still not defending the outside run properly. Like if we can start being more physical, and I think the other one as well is discipline. Be more disciplined. That's one of the biggest factors, especially from that Buffalo game. And going into this Miami game, we're so lack of discipline from Parsons acting the way he was on the field. So, and that's going to screw you up mentally. It's going to make you less focused. And again, and Joe really made the great comment, the only person that's actually beaten Dallas is Dallas. We're our own biggest enemies. Like, so unless we can actually conquer knowing what our weaknesses are, we're not going to make it to the Super Bowl. Let's be perfect. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, if we can even achieve to make it to the NFC Championship, that is a success for me. I know it sounds daft to say that because obviously it should be Super Bowl and nothing, but it's still a progression from the year before, whatever. Not like it's, but at the same time, it's still, like we just need to be very realistic. What is likely to happen if we're blown away from a mindful performance? I suppose if we're expected to play Tampa, I believe it is, because based on sequence as of right now, right? Yeah, I'd be very wary of that game. Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest, because as of right now, Baker Mayfield is playing lights out. Like he had a great game there, but during the Christmas holidays, there he had a great game. I think he had one of the best passer ratings of last week.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It's I mean, Miami are very like us with the very fast mobile and tricks and so on. I don't think they can go into Baltimore this weekend and punch them in the mouth.
I've got my money's on Ravens.
Yeah, I think the Bills and the Lions games are that physicality that we're missing, that we saw us struggle with, and really our only bad loss is the 49ers. I would still say.
I would say Arizona's worse.
Arizona, we didn't turn up, but the
I'd agree.
49ers beat us, the Bills beat us, and Eagles, game of inches. And I'd say Miami, game of inches. If we lose to the Lions, then that sets the stereotype is that we can be punched in the mouth. We can be made bitches, and that will stop us. You're right. That will stop getting far.
Yeah, that's definitely a conversation for tomorrow's show for the pre-game and that. Like, I do have concerns about the Lions game, but other than that. But in fairness, though, you do have to give some credit to Mike McDaniel. Like, he did made a really strategized game. He really he played a lot of mental warfare pre-game, like questionable Tyreek Hill, but he was absolutely fine. Like, they really try to really set it off board and stuff like that. Really try to cause a lot of confusion within our system for that, like Dan Quinn. So
and on the field as well, there was quite a lot of chatting, a lot of eye-to-eye stuff, which I hadn't seen with the Dolphins before. I haven't watched that many games, but it seemed like, exactly that probably their mentality was get under our skins because we can't face up to that. So, that matches in with all the Mike McDaniel's schemes and so on to counter us.
Yeah. And to be fair, and look, I'm not trying to find excuses for the Dolphins not playing as well as they can. Jalen Waddle was banged up for most of that game and sat out most of the second half as well. So he is a big threat, and obviously, look, he got the touchdown in the first half, but there were issues there. Look, I just want to finish up the injuries and the news and rosters. We did have a roster move today. Rashawn Evans, the linebacker, has been waived, and Matt Waletzko, our offensive tackle, has been elevated. Do you guys want to have anything to say on that before we move on? Or
I'm a bit baffled, if I'm being perfectly honest. What was the point in bringing in Rashawn Evans in the first place? Like, I get we need linebackers.
7 games. He's played 6 or 7 games.
What, for us?
Yep.
He hasn't been with us for that long, has he?
Yeah. He's been with us for about 2 months.
Yeah,
it's one of those more than we thought.
Yeah. I mean, it's a part of it is the fact that the off-field stuff, which no point going into, but it wasn't a difference maker, and it felt a bit like a headline. If we were going to make a midfield splash and say, this is something we need to correct, this is what we've realized that we're missing, where was the bell cow? Where was the offensive line depth? Where was here's some spend some money that takes us from a challenger to a top tier? And I don't think Evans was ever that. And I think we're like we've touched on, we're missing a bit of that.
Yeah. Like and with like Brendan Waletzko in, thank goodness. Like we need as much offensive line depth as much as we need right now to help Dak now. But going back to Evans though, like, and just kind of saying what Labassi just said, he hasn't done anything. I totally agree. I haven't seen him on the stat sheet or making major contributions in that. So I think I'm more surprised the fact that we've just kind of we're now one linebacker down in terms of depth again. That's what I'm more surprised about.
Yeah. I mean, I think we still have, I suppose, like that. Look, we've Damone Clark, we've Micah. Dante Fowler has been taking some snaps at linebacker. Bell can drop in and play linebacker as well. Thomas can drop in. Like Dan Quinn has a particular style of linebacker who can play safety that he likes to play. So it's more that seems to be the move more than anything. And as you say, it's get that extra O-line depth in. Yeah. But look, let's have a little talk about the offensive side of the ball anyway. I mean, you can see the numbers going through. As we say, this wasn't a game you could lay any blame at Dak's door. I mean, he had a pretty good stat line in terms of 20 for 32, 253, 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn the ball over. Had a couple of good rushes as well. You know, I mean, as I said, if anyone was trying to place blame, and there were plenty of people who did try it, I think they're very misguided in that.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but it just makes you wonder what game they were watching, to be honest. Because as far as I know, like that was the one that's still trying to push and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, there was a wee couple of close moments where he could have picked off and whatever, not. But in terms of that, he was still in command. He was still trying to like whenever him and CD were on the field, like we were still moving the ball very well. It just seems to be like any other type of play call, like if it was run or pass to someone else when CeeDee Lamb is not on the field, then it seemed to kind of go hayward. Because when CeeDee Lamb was on the field, there was the pass down to Jalen Tolbert, which was fantastic, right?
Yes,
but and there was the one to Cooks, I believe, as well
for the touchdown.
Yep. So yes, and both of them, and both of those instances, CeeDee Lamb was on the field at the time.
Yeah,
and any other time after that, like if CeeDee Lamb was on the sideline and that offense were on the field, we weren't seem to be getting the same distribution. So I don't know if it's a mental block from not from Dak, but from the other wide receivers to not to step up, because the balls were going in their court. It just seemed to be just wasn't connecting. It was weird.
Yeah. I mean, looking at that stat line, Jake Ferguson 445 cool, Lamb excellent 6 for 119, Tolbert 1 reception 5 yards, Gallup 2 receptions 4 yards, Cooks I think it was 2 for 12 and a touchdown.
2 for 14.
Where is WR2?
I just seen Joe's comment. The goal line fumble was a game changer. Yeah, it was a game changer. But if there's another game changer in this game, was the stop on Tony Pollard at the first 0 yard line, essentially, literally inches away from changing the game. And
that was essentially the same drive.
Yeah, that was the same drive. Yeah, it was the
play before the fumble.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was the play after that as well.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, I'm more upset with Tony Pollard than I am with Hunter Lupke. Lupke, that needs more reps. There's no question about that. He needs to be more involved. Mike McCarthy and the offense need to get Lupke more involved, because it clearly was working. Whether needs more practice with the handoffs, that seems to be what the issue is. But with the whole Tony Pollard thing, yeah, with the Tony Pollard thing, all right, you got it.
Keep talking. I'll see if I can find the comment there.
The Tony Pollard thing, though, he had the choice, 2 choices actually. One, to dive his shoulder down and actually take on the hit more head on and drive the running back rather than being too head up. It was too upright, trying to run straight forward into the guy. Yeah. That was number 1 mistake. Number 2 mistake was Pollard's got the speed, right? He could easily take a more stretching leap going to the end of the sideline. He could have done that. Why didn't he do that? Why did he want to decide to cut back inside when the safety was more than prepared to take it on and won that battle easily? And they were a match for match in terms of size and height. And Pollard got absolutely stopped dead on the tracks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he tried to do half of each and failed at both. And I agree. That was the problem. I mean, you see these memes of saying,
if I was an $11 million running back, I should be making more executive decisions rather than just doing it right at the last second like that, unsure where I'm going to go. You're ever going to be committed to the where you're supposed to go, or you're not, or you're not. And if that's the difference between what Zeke did, he was always committed to where the gap was. Like if there was even though if it might have been closed off, he would still go in and try and punch it in. Whereas Pollard, it seemed like he was on. It just looked as though he was going to run to the outside and decide to cut back inside when he didn't have to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And like something I'm going to bring up, and look, I hate to do it, but this time last year, this fan base was waving goodbye to Zeke Elliott, saying he wasn't good enough. There was no juice left in the tank. I'm sorry to say it, but in the past month, that guy has proved there's plenty of juice left in that tank.
I don't think it was the problem with the juice. It was the problem with the whole it was the contract's the problem.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't talk about that. Like, if we were to keep Ezekiel Elliott and not Tony Pollard, then that would have been different.
Yeah.
Like Zeke was willing to do a reduced deal, be cheaper under the cap more than that, whereas Pollard, obviously, he was chasing for the new bigger deal type of thing. But, yeah. It's a hard one, mate. It really is. Like, like deep down, I still think Zeke would still bring so much more to our run game still, regardless. Like, even if he'll be playing more of a bit part role, but he would be still contributing. He'd still be one of the best pass blocking running backs to give that lane of defense from getting sacked from time to time. Like, and you will never see that happen. You won't see Ezekiel Elliott get spun like a helicopter.
Yeah.
That will never happen.
He's very low to the ground. But yeah, absolutely. We're missing something there. We're missing that presence there. I think Zeke suits the Patriots offense now. So he's excelling where he is, and he just didn't become he doesn't suit what our offense is now, but we still need that big-bodied threat. That what Pollard isn't. I don't think a lot of teams saw that decision-making or that. The fumble's a fumble. Sure, it could have gone our way, whatever. But the decision-making from Pollard, I think, is the thing that people see and say, we're not that worried if you're on the 5-yard line. You're gonna be on your own. You're going to be on the 10-yard line before we do anything about it.
Yeah. So I've just 2 quick ones here. Joe has asked, he said, did you see what Amari Cooper did Saturday? If that's not a slap in the face for Jerry. Unfortunately, look, and I know I'm guilty of saying it, having said it about Zeke, but I mean, the ship has sailed, and it sailed 2 years ago with Amari. But our own Graham Wilson, he's obviously switched accounts, and he's not repping Labarsky anymore. He says, apologies for my absence. Quick question for the panel. Is there any evidence that says the Cowboys win the wildcard game? And obviously Graham was absolutely fuming on Sunday night, and it's understandable.
As of right now, I find it very hard to find any reason why we should win. If I'm being perfectly, because we're going to be on the road, we're going to be up against. It seems to be on hot in the heels right now. It Tampa Bay. If we do go there, that might subject to change. We might go somewhere else, and who knows? But it doesn't look good for our first playoff game. Regardless,
I mean, just looking at the last few Buccaneers games. I mean, the Jags are imploding. The Packers just don't know what a defense is. The Falcons don't know who they are, and the Panthers, whatever. So the last time they had a quality win was, or a quality team was, they lost to the Colts in the end of November. So yes, I mean, Baker Mayfield, fantastic that he's found the right spot. I think we could go in if we played like we did on Sunday against Tampa Bay. I think that we come out of there with the win. I think it's little things like, the left tackle actually reading his job description. Simple.
I like that one, Craig. I like that one.
You're right.
A mentality of, it doesn't matter if it's road or away, we can knock them in the mouth. We can punch them in the mouth. We can make bitches. Micah Parsons just getting home rather than being held. I think it is such fine margins, and we played one of the cream of the AFC and we were ahead for most of the first half, and for we were ahead going into that final drive. I think we do have the potential to, but we've touched all the things we've touched on here are things that can be fixed.
Yeah, and that's the thing is whether we've definitely got all the potential in the world to actually go all the way. We do. We know that. We've seen it. We've seen it in countless games this year. Like, the question is, can we put it all together when it really matters? And it seems to be whenever we're on the road, we just can't seem to do that unless we're playing a team under 500 or whatever. Like any team away from home above 500. Like, we seem to, like, that's when we tend to struggle. Philly, San Francisco, Buffalo, Miami, all above 500.
Yeah, but we went to Tampa in January and we smacked Tom Brady in the mouth and took him out the league. So
that's last year though.
Yeah, so that shows
different story.
We need that kind of mentality. We need to be tighter and smarter and more physical and all. It's all mental things. It's all scheme. It's all preparation. And I think we have the ability to.
Yeah. I find it kind of funny. Like, the whole mantra is the carpe ombre, like the signage for Mike McCarthy's put in the star. Like, it basically means sees everything.
Yeah.
It seems to be that we've not been seizing every opportunity in every game this year. So it just seems kind of ironic. Like, that's the thing. What we should be doing right now. We should be seizing everything right now.
Yeah.
That statement could be any more like, get that message down to the players now, type of thing.
Yeah, it shouldn't be on the walls in the facility. It should be on the plane, and then that's how we prep for away games.
Yeah.
Pretty much from now on, every game is playoffs. Simple.
Yeah, you're right. You're dead right, Craig. Look, the one final point I wanted to bring up, and unfortunately, look, it's going to roll through the screen in a second. Michael Gallup, two receptions for 4 yards. I've just looked at his stats for the last 3 years: 445 yards, 424 yards, 418 yards. We made a mistake.
Yeah. We were hoping Gallup would step up to where Cooper is, but be a bit cheaper. And Cooper unfortunately priced himself out, and Browns leaped on the deal of the year. Yeah. We do need, and that's, I think I can't remember which mock draft I was looking at last night when I couldn't sleep. Had us taking a wide receiver in the first round, and I was like, what? But yeah, having a second threat to.
Let's be honest, Craig. It's the most Jerry Jones thing to do in the first round.
Yeah, but having someone who could be a Lamb 2 years out, but in the meantime, he could be a presence. He could be a lamb when Lamb's on the sideline. I mean, I don't know animals, but whatever a baby lamb is. But the
lamb is the baby.
Yeah, I don't want to think it. But yeah, that kind of second presence, and that's what I want to see more Cooks. I think I messaged on the thing. I love Cooks or whatever, and I was glad I didn't miss time.
You want to cook a lamb?
But if we have Cooks to be that number two, to be what Gallup should be, to be what Lamb was to Cooper, to Amari, then there we go. From the comparison from the last weekend, where's our Waddle?
Yeah.
We're definitely missing the 1,000-yard season version of Michael Gallup. That's for sure.
Yeah.
As much as I'm a big fan of Gallup, like, whenever he does make a play, it's very impactful whenever he does, but he's not getting the same distribution as he did before. Whether that's down to confidence, down to his confidence in himself in terms of his route running, confidence between his communication with Dak, we do not know. So it's a lot of bells and whistles. We could come up with so many different scenarios why this could be the reason or whether or not, but the matter of fact is, from the fans' perspective, Michael Gallup is not getting it done. End of. So we do need to question the coaches, what is wrong with Michael Gallup? Why is he not getting the ball? Why is he like? Is a problem with his route running? Is he still having niggles with his knee or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Like, does he have full confidence in his body to take on the hits or whatever? Like, just tell us more information so we could be more understanding what the issue is. So rather than trying like gallivant and John doing a player's throat, like you know, so that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. So just the final 2 points before we kind of move on to the defensive side of the ball. And Joe, this is probably more for tomorrow night's show. After Saturday night with Detroit and Jimmy going into the Ring of Honor, the curse will be lifted and we'll win the Super Bowl. Amen to that. And Tim is saying, can we move on from Tyron? I love him, but he's not reliable anymore. I think if we're being honest, Tyron has a handful, 5 matches max, I think, left with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I think this is it.
I think that I'm being with you. I'm with you as well, Tim. Like, this is probably his last ever season, most likely. And but in terms of reliable, yeah, from the injury standpoint, I totally agree. But in terms of reliable being on the field, there's no question we need him on the field. Like, there's no question about that. Like, we saw the difference between the drop-off between when Tyron Smith is not on the field compared to having like a Chuma or Doga, and we don't want an Chaz Green on the field for goodness sake, you know? So, yeah, so there's a big quality standoff from that perspective. So, but yeah, in terms of the injuries and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. Tyron Smith has not had a full-on season for the Dallas Cowboys since, what, 2015? 2014,
or 2015.
A decade.
So nearly a decade of never having a full season with the Cowboys. Even though he's still a Pro Bowl caliber player, he is still one of the best players to ever step on the field when fully fit. But the problem is he just can't stay fit. That's the problem. And that's the only downside of Tyron Smith right now is being healthy. When you're so big and so large, you're going to get these weird niggles out of nowhere that start to give you long-lasting effects. And clearly that's now happening to him right now. And it seems to be getting worse and worse. Like, he's had back surgery, he's had elbow surgeries, and God knows what else. Like, it's more machine than man right now with the arm braces. So
we don't call him RoboCop for no reason.
come up live. You want to... I tried to do the RoboCop quote, but I absolutely screwed the pitch though.
I mean, look, I guess like Graham's comment here is, see if the team says managing one more time, I swear. And I get that. It is the worst thing with it. And look, I'm probably going to pee off Graham when he say this next line. This for me is why Zach Martin is the better player, is because the best form of ability is availability. Zach Martin, since he's joined, has missed a handful of games. And you know what you're getting out of him. You don't have to worry about that right guard spot at all.
And he's made it very adamant, I am not playing any other position but right guard.
Yeah.
He's made that very clear. Like, because why lessen your success rate down playing a position that you're not as more familiar of? Like, let's be honest, would you rather have 100% in right guard where you know you're guaranteed, or you're going to get a 50% at a right tackle or a center or left guard, or like you're essentially breaking down the success rate down in half if you move him to a different position in that line when he's not comfortable with. And that's where my whole problem with O-line flexibility is an issue for me. Like, I'd rather have players that were proper draft. What's that? It's tough to... Oh, amazing.
So for those of you who can't read this or watching on or listening on a podcast, Lebarski is saying it's tough switching between my Graham account and my Lebarski accounts.
I can just see Graham pure like angry typing like now. Oh, like that wee cat meme like that. What was I saying? in terms of the offensive line, I hate the idea of the whole flexibility with terms of the O-line. Yeah, I get like we do need to kind of cover positions if a player goes down, but I'd rather have like if you're drafting a player, draft a player for the actual position, not draft a left tackle, moving him to left guard or whatever. Not like draft like or bring in a player that's played the majority of his whole career and stick him to that position. Like and only play him if really necessary.
Yeah. I'd slightly disagree, or maybe I'm just picking it up slightly wrong, Paul, in terms of, I mean, if you look at Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, and Travis Frederick, they were all left tackles in college and predominantly played left tackle in college. And obviously Travis moved inside, they saw him as a center. Zach moved into right guard. I mean, I think the point you're trying to make is more you want a guy coming in and just playing one position, not being he might be a left tackle or he might be a right guard or he can switch out. You just want him playing one position only.
Yeah, essentially, because you're going to get that. Like if they're going to be more focused in that one singular position, the more they're going to perfect their craft. That's what I'm trying to say. Because if you're trying to like now. You're thinking about different blocking assignments. You're thinking about different positions of double teams, depending where the defensive schemes are lined up. If you're a one tech or a free tech, then there's a different outlook. You may have to kick step a little bit more out. All those type of things. If you're in out of position, you have to readjust and readapt.
Yeah,
that you're not so used to. So that's where I have my problem. Like, because originally I started off as a left tackle. Loved playing left tackle, but it was not. The problem was for me. I was very I wouldn't say undersized. I just didn't have the height for it. So when I did get shifted more into left guard, and I refused to play right hand side because my kick steps more predominantly. Like I can kick better with my left foot. Like better kicking back. I've got a lot more weight against it, and especially. And my strong hand is always my left hand. Like, so me playing on the right, I would feel so awkward in terms of like rotating my hips, all those different types of dynamics. So like that's where I think being comfortable with a position that you think you're going to be the best at and you can study the game at, stick by that. So, and this is where the whole thing with Tyler Smith now comes into the equation. He's now 2 years with the Cowboys now. Yeah, he's been he's been raved about, like, and rightly so. He's been great, but it's still the basic mistakes of holding unnecessarily, the jumping off sides, all these common mistakes. These should be knowing the cadences. He should be knowing everything right now. Like, you're no longer a rookie now. There should be no room for error now going forward.
Yeah, just a little bit sloppy has crept in, and
that's a great way to say it. It's very sloppy.
Yeah.
And my thing, and I've always said this, is you compare that to Zach Martin. Zach Martin, I think, in 8 or 9 years has only given up 7 penalties in the league.
Yeah.
You know, less than 1 penalty a season.
Yeah. That's
and that's what you want.
This is why there's the difference, right? So Zach Martin is going to be a future Hall of Famer. Yeah, regardless, without a Super Bowl or not, he is without a doubt one of the best guards to ever step foot on the football field.
Yeah,
hands down. He's going to be Ring of Honor, Hall of Fame, you name it. He's going to be right up there.
Yeah. Just before we move on to talking about the defense, Graham has switched back his accounts now, and he's back on his Graham Wilson account, and he said we could always just take a blocking tight end again.
I don't want to dive into that topic too much.
But look, flipping it over onto the defensive side of the ball. Like the Cowboys on Sunday gave up 24 first downs, 6-13 on third down, gave up 375 yards. We're 1 for 4 in the red zone, which restricted Jason Sanders to having to kick 5 field goals. I mean,
on paper, it's great.
Standard.
On paper, it looked great. On paper, but it's the clutch moments.
Yeah,
it seemed to be the problem. like the final drive, that should have been the clutch moment to really stamp our authority down. We failed to do it, and we gave them that extra field goal. All they need is that field goal to win the game, and we gave them the opportunity to run down the clock, make sure we didn't have any chance to come back at all, and basically took the win from us out of nowhere, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly that. It's our mentality got the worst of us, and that's probably more on the defense than the offense. So, I mean, the stat line was fine. We did restrict them. We did. We were competitive occasionally. We need to be competitive continually.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of bore out in the numbers in terms of, say, individually. There were very few tackles for loss. We had one sack on Sunday night. You know, this team, as we say, on the road, especially, it's proven there's an inability there to get sacks, to get turnovers. And that was like, that could have been huge for us on Sunday, was getting a turnover. And we just don't seem to do that. I don't know if it's conservative game calling from Dan Quinn on the scheme, or it's, look, bend don't break, given the players we have missing. And like, as I say, look, that's not an excuse to say we've players missing. Every team has players missing at this point in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think, was it the last pick six was Washington? Thanksgiving. I can't remember that many momentum shifting interceptions since then.
I'm not sure if we've had one.
No. And that's it. It's such fine margins. That ball from the fullback bounces a couple of inches left. Dak's got it. Okay. But we just need one of those 10-yard passes to be jumped. And sure, okay, Bland does it, maybe misses, and maybe that 10-yard pass turns into a 20-yard pass. That's not going to shift the game. Taking the ball and taking it back for points might shift the game. So go on.
Sorry, Craig. This is kind of going back to the point I was making early on. It's these 10-yard passes were the ones were killing us. It's because we were giving likes of Wardle and likes of Hill too much respect by giving them too much space. Like we're maybe like 5 years back, like to make that room to make the moves to like cut back inside or whatever for those 10-yard passes. That would seem to be the ones that really did actually, like the slant passes especially. That was just like, it's like, come on, like, and especially with the middle guys just seemed a wee bit lost when it came to that. I don't know if it was just like trying to deal with Tyreek's speed and try to like play, but literally but mentally you can play catch up, but physically we just couldn't do it. We just can't match the speed.
Yeah. And that's it. It's just soft coverage, easy catch, couple of yards. But actually, if we'd been a bit more physical on the line, a bit more physical on the contesting catches, then yes, he might beat us once. We might beat him to the ball once. And that actually could give us the momentum shift, the mentality shift, the edge towards physicality that we need.
Yeah, and this is another thing. I don't think we've actually mentioned this. Is about our defensive line. Like, don't get me wrong, we do have some good players in our defensive line, but our production has definitely went down. In the past 3 or 4 weeks. Like I would say since probably the Thanksgiving game, it has dropped down significantly. Like, we're not getting as like obviously like sacks numbers and whatever not, but it just in terms of total pressures to the quarterback, it's definitely decreasing. It seems to be. Like I could be wrong on that, but it just what it generally feels like it, because I think it feels like the two are like, I think it was a half sack for a pass and half sack for Armstrong, and that was it. But in terms of pressures, like it's not as much as we would like to hope it to be, especially against a depleted Miami offensive line. Connor Williams is out. They had multiple injuries on the injury report in terms of that offensive line that were doubtful and stuff like that. I was like, okay, so they've got a backup offensive line. This is good news. You would like to think so. More inexperienced, like would have caused more communication problems, especially with the interior. Didn't see any of that at all. Like it just felt like, and that's the thing. Like if you're not putting the pressure on Tua as much as we would like to, then these short 10-yard gains and whatever and that would never have happened.
Yeah, and not just the sacks and the pressure on Tua, but blowing up the running game behind the line of scrimmage. That seemed to be for the middle part of our season. That seemed to be quite a staple of us. And I can't remember the last time we did that and shifted the momentum a bit.
Yeah. And just kind of like just looking at Tim's comment about the 13th man. We already kind of mentioned about the refs. Like as much as I agree, like the refereeing decisions on passing is terrible. Yeah, from a pass perspective. Like I believe it's 31 quarters of football that's happened, but we need to stop throwing that as an excuse. We need to get on with it. I know it sounds pure. Or how are we supposed to do that? The refs are against us. It's like fight fire with fire. Like if we're getting hold back, then punch the I was about to swear there. Punch the guy right across the face the next time. Well, that's what I say. Like the only way to deal with it is just get more angry and put all that venom towards that offensive lineman next time and make him regret it. Make him regret holding you. That's what I would say.
Yeah, the ref isn't going to pick up the flag or change it because you appeal, but the offensive lineman after doing that will think about that for the rest of the game. So that could be the influencer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And like as I said earlier, look, Mike is not the only guy this is happening to. Every top pass rusher in the league gets held and gets held multiple times a game.
The prime example is Lane Johnson is the biggest culprit of them all. Let's be fair. Throughout the whole 2 seasons, Lane Johnson for the Philadelphia Eagles has probably not been called for holding and called for false starts. And you could write a whole Bible on the guides of how to prank the referees not to give you a flag. Like that's Lane Johnson in a heartbeat. Like I know I may kind of jump from one gun to the other here, but just to give you the perspective, the fact is like it's all across the league. There's offensive linemen that are being really, really bad. They should have got called for something, but they didn't. The referees, and I don't know how many times NFL officiating's official Twitter has been tagged in so many videos this season. It is a concern. Like the refereeing standards have definitely dropped overall, not just for the Cowboys, but for everyone. There's been even take the Philadelphia Buffalo game, the host caller call, that was really bad. The fact that they called that against Buffalo rather than on Philadelphia is just shows you how bad it is.
Yeah, and I'm just going to pull up Tim's other comment here because you're kind of answering yourself in a way, Tim, with this. The problem with holding calls for Mike is it happens so much you'd be calling almost every play. And you're correct in that assessment in that you could almost every play you could call a penalty. And if you do that, the game is not going to be enjoyable to watch. You know, like for us over here in the UK and Ireland, like we've seen soccer ruined by VAR and taking 2 and 3 minutes to decide on things like that. If you start calling penalties on everything and video reviews, the game's going to take 6 and 7 hours and no one wants to see that.
Yeah. Because there'll be TV, like TVs TV producers will have a say on how games are predicted as well. But not predicted, but how the speed of the game should be determined. But I was going to mention something there regards to every play for Micah Parsons. This is in relation to Tim's question. And I'm going to throw back a question back to you guys. With that being said, with the holding calls, should now be the time to actually move Micah Parsons back to linebacker to stop him getting over frustrated and actually think about maybe run inside as a blitz in linebacker role? Because he's had success doing it plenty of times. Why not give him more of a stunt at linebacker?
I thought we would have seen more of that this week, actually, just as just to confound a bit of Mike McDaniel's scheming. So I was surprised that he was left so long when we clearly weren't getting the best out of Micah. If we have him more as a mobile threat rather than a pass rush threat, then it might have caused a bit of indecision. Might have been able to jump a few more routes rather than get home to Tua.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian. Just the reason I'm kind of saying that, it's like maybe it's just kind of ease the mentality issue that we're having right now. It might actually help Micah like spark up that fire again and actually give defenses like something to rethink about again in a different position. Yeah. That's what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah. I mean, if you think, as you kind of say, Paul, if he does blitz from linebacker, it only takes one or two acts, one or two sacks just to get that momentum, that juice going again. Where he's having 2 and 3 sack games. If you just change that position, and that's what they've tried to do, is get him playing, as you say, get him playing on the line, get him playing off ball, get him playing over the center, over the guards as well. And it's just trying to find that right slot. And I think if you can get him playing, and I know it's a huge word when I say if you could get him 1 or 2 more sacks, it might just get those gears going for him again. But another thing I know I threw it out there in terms of lack of turnovers in recent games. I just went back and had a look. In our last 4 games, obviously, since you guys were out there for Thanksgiving, all 4 teams are in the playoffs right now. And that is an issue in itself, in that that's the error count is not going to be as high. The risk count from teams in the playoffs isn't going to be as high. So you're not going to have those turnover type issues.
We're essentially going to be 5 for 5 of playoff teams because we've got Detroit next.
Yeah.
Can
we just play Sam Howell every week? Is that an option?
Sam Howell's been benched.
Yeah, he has. Can't remember, but we won't be seeing him.
Kobe Brissett.
Thank you. But yeah, you're right. And even the teams we played earlier on, the Rams are also, going to be pushing for a playoff run. So the quality has shifted. The games have gotten closer. And so, yes, we won't see huge stats and big explosive defensive plays. It's just what it is. But there is still the chance for our defense to do what we want to see them do, is actually take over a game. We see them change a game's momentum. We don't often see them dominate a game. And that's the one word for me, dominate, is missing. Micah could do that. Micah could dominate a game, not just through sacks, but through being a tackle for loss threat as well. I think we're just missing it.
I almost had a wee twinkle in my eye when you just said just one chance, and all I'd thought about is that one Seafy Braveheart there.
Just your accent's better than mine.
Sorry, you're just rattling my head there. Sorry.
Yeah, you do know Braveheart was only shot about 10 miles from where I live.
Yeah,
it was mostly recorded in Ireland, wasn't it?
Yeah, most of it was in Ireland. Yeah. But getting back to it, look, Graham has kind of posed this question a couple of times, so I'm going to throw it to you guys again. Against a team with very little run game and a banged up offense, offensive line, should we expect more than 1 sack, regardless of how bad the referees are?
Well, we had the second sack that was penalised as a roughing the passer, and that was very dubious. But yeah, if Micah is getting double teamed and held and so on, there's got to be another pressure point. As you said, Paul and Brian, the offensive line was so banged up. There must have been another pressure point somewhere else. So perhaps we just held off on the pass rush because as we've said, we're so worried about the coverage that we were just lost a bit of our mojo. So we didn't see more sacks because we were trying to not give up the big play elsewhere.
That's probably the best way to describe it. We have seemed to be losing our mojo, as Austin Powers would say.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose it is the thing. Look, and to be fair, as they say, look, we've been playing playoff teams for weeks, but it does seem to be a thing that, like, you're going, right, if the sack is not coming from Micah, where's it coming from? And it's, like, I think Tank's had a couple, but not enough from, a guy you're paying a lot of money to. You would like to see more. Hankins in that game against Washington, I think he had 2 sacks. He just sacked the week after against that team. And then obviously, look, he got injured. But you're kind of going, like, look, where's the numbers coming from Osa? Where's the numbers coming from Chauncey Golston? Where's the numbers coming from Sam Williams? I mean, Sam Williams is skating by very easily in terms of, he was a second-round pick last year and has not massively shown up. I mean, if you compare it, himself and Tank Lawrence, both second-round picks, and I'm not trying to compare them as players, I'm just trying to compare in terms of where they were taken, is that you're going, you would expect more production from a second-round pick.
Yeah, and I think Sam Williams knows that himself, because he had it in himself that he wanted to achieve 10 sacks in a season.
Yeah.
Like when we were talking to him on the Cowboys Experience show, that was his goal, was to get 10 plus sacks, get double digits. And wherever he's not getting the opportunity now, but whenever he is on the field, I don't know, it's a weird one. It's a weird one to kind of make a comment on.
Yeah, so he's got 4 sacks so far this year, which that's disappointing.
He may get 6 against Washington.
I reckon 3 of us could get 6 against Washington.
Yeah,
but like, look, to kind of be a little bit positive, I mean, we have kind of alluded to it multiple times throughout the show. I mean, our defensive backs had a solid game this week. They have not given up an awful lot on the back end. And that's playing without your number 1 corner. I mean, obviously you're missing the turnovers from them. But I mean, if they can keep playing at that level of 1 or 2 touchdowns a game, is that good enough?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
To me, like, as long as we win the game, I don't honestly care about stats right now. Like, as long as we win games, as long as we can, like, turnovers, if we can cause turnovers more than sacks, then great. I would be happy with more 4-and-outs than a sack, than they scoring a touchdown in the next drive. Like, as long as we're preventing teams from actually putting points on the board, that's what I'll be happy about more than anything.
Yeah. And I mean, Goff has his ups and downs, so there's potential ahead. But if whether it's sacks, pressures, whatever, as long as we are present in the backfield, I think that's the games where we are starting to cause errors. And I think the Dolphins didn't cause the error. That was our first drive with the fumble, but we didn't cause any errors for them. And perhaps that, again, fine margins.
Yeah. I'm going to throw this question to you both. Graham has kind of thrown it in, and Tim has had a chance just to get in a response before we've gotten to it. Do you think it's a time to bench our starters for the regular season, or when do we do it? And Tim has kind of come back in and said they would be rusty if we did, I feel. I mean, like, say you get the win on Saturday evening against the Lions, would you consider sitting some of your starters going up to Washington?
Only if Philadelphia lose to Arizona.
I've never liked the benching starters, because often you get as many injuries in the training time as you do on the pitch, I think. So, I mean, if the game against Washington is a nothing game, then fine. But if it does that, and then we're also on the road again, I think it'd be different if it was a home game followed by a home playoff. If we were at home and we could treat it as a semi preseason. But because we want to defeat this road warrior or road curse thing, no, I think we go out and put our feet on someone's throat as a statement, not to Washington but to Tampa or whoever.
Yeah,
possibly.
I mean, I think. Look, it's going to depend on the outcome of Saturday, and as you said, that team's game against Arizona. There might still be a divisional title to fight for on the last day, and I'm not up for resting starters when there's a divisional title to be there.
Absolutely.
To be won. It's the difference between a home playoff game and an away playoff game. Yeah. We've seen the advantage of having home games.
Absolutely. And that's every reason why I wouldn't drop the players. Like if there was no chance of us actually winning the title, then maybe like give the starters like a couple of drives, then let them rest and let the backups play. But I still want my starters to still somewhat play in any remaining against Washington, for example. Like, because we still want to keep them active, but not just don't go overboard. Like if it's tight, like for example, Tyron Smith, like give him a couple of reps, whatever, not then let him bench, then really get him on the sideline, talk to like the other backups to really like drill it into them. This is what you should be doing. Blah blah blah. Blah.
Yeah. Anyone with a niggle, anyone with not just niggle, but hasn't been playing up to their level, I would say a couple of reps and then actually get them back studying tape. I mean, that's more important than performance. That other players that we need out there, keep them going until we've achieved what we want to out of the game from Washington. It does still matter. It does still matter for how teams see us. So it does matter for our mentality.
Craig, I think this might have been what you were alluding to, but I'll say it anyway. I mean, that Washington game could be where you can get some players getting their mojo back in terms of getting some takeaways, getting something moving on both sides of the ball, which gives you a bit of confidence heading into that game, which most likely, as we say, looks like it's going to be in Tampa. And surely something like that is better than having guys sitting out, being slightly rusty for the first few series, because we've seen what slow starts will do in the playoffs.
Yeah. And we're not a team built to, as we saw, as they mentioned in the first drive, we're not a team built to play from behind.
No. But look, as we always say, we do like to try and end things on a positive. Throwing it over to our old friends on the special teams, our two Pro Bowlers, Brian Anger and Brandon Aubrey. 2 from 2 on field goals, 2 from 2 on extra points. Brian Anger had a punter average of nearly 60 yards in that game. I mean, again, there's no blame we can lay on the special teams front door.
No.
Yeah.
And he's still the only player, that's the field goals. We haven't missed a field goal yet. That's right.
Nope. Still haven't missed a field goal this season.
Could be like set an all-time record of missing no field goals for the whole season. Could be this great potential happen the first time ever.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, we're an hour and a half into things, and look, we really do need to get out of here. Tomorrow evening, we do have Mike and the team who will be here to preview the Detroit Lions game, but most importantly, Jimmy Johnson going into the Ring of Honor. Gentlemen, how are you both feeling about that?
Extremely long overdue.
Yeah.
I think it was actually a big sigh of relief from all of Cowboys Nation. It's that finally Jerry freaking did it. He actually put his ego away and actually put Jimmy in the Ring of Honor. And I know everyone's been so superstitious, but this could be the curse, whatever, with the Cowboys. If that is the case, then so be it. Like, lift the curse, then great. Then let's go and win those. Get back to the glory days of creating a new dynasty and stuff like that. Let's do that again. So, yeah. Let's go.
Absolutely. It's well deserved. It's putting to bed a distracting storyline. It means that the 90s are done. The now is the now. Let's see what this team has. And it's a fitting time for it.
For sure.
Just before you go, yeah, just noticed Tim's comment about like kickers don't get MVP, but he certainly deserves it 100%. Brandon, like I just want to like show my big love and appreciation for Brandon Aubrey right now. Like when we were going into the training camp, we were still having that big question mark. Can he actually cope with the pressure? He did have some missed field goals during training camp, stuff like that. But ever since week 1, field goals, he's just been absolutely fantastic. Like how he's turned out for the Cowboys is more than we could ever imagined. So, and big shout out to Brandon Aubrey. You'll become a big fan favorite here in the UK.
Yeah,
for sure.
The one thing we're missing is a name like Greg the Leg or Mr. Automatic. We need something from him. And then what's that?
Butter.
I missed that. What?
Butter.
That's
his nickname. That's his missus gave him that nickname. Butter.
Butter.
Okay.
Don't know where that came from, but
there you go.
I'm not getting butter on the back of a jersey. I mean, it's not happening.
I may as well get lower pack on the back of the jersey.
Just hearing the guy with the trumpet.
Paul, do you want to give the shout out to Barry and the team?
Yes, guys. If you're planning going to a Dallas Cowboys game, be sure to go and check out Cowboys. There's meet and greets and much, much more.
Sorry, just give me 1 sec. There we go. Sorry, I was playing something and then your microphone nearly went out, Paul. So, but look, as we say, tomorrow night, Mike and the team will be back here at 9 o'clock in the UK and Ireland, 4 o'clock on the East Coast, 3 o'clock in Texas. We hope you can all join in, listen to the breakdown of the Detroit Lions match. For me, it is a good night.
Good night from me.
Good night, all.
Paul, give us the line.
Dallas forever, Philly forever. You know the score, guys. But anyway, guys, season Thursday.
Good night.
Good night.